You are listening to Disney Travel Tales, episode number 18. This is a space where you can escape the real world and immerse yourself in someone's recent Disney trip. I'm Jenny, and today we are talking to Carrie about her trip with her husband and 3-year-old son to Disney World at the end of September. Carrie and her family ate at so many awesome restaurants and had quite a few experiences that were so fun to hear about. If you're enjoying the show and want to help support it, there are 2 super easy ways to do it. First is leaving a positive review on Apple Podcast, and second, sharing it with a friend. You can also stay in touch with me by visiting our Instagram page at Disney Travel Tales. There you can see pictures of all the guests on their trips. This show is sponsored by Trolley Lane Travel and owner Becky Abruzzetti. If you are thinking about traveling to any Disney resort or even taking a Disney cruise, then having a travel agent will not only save you time, but also money. There is no better time than right now to plan your magical vacation. Walt Disney World just started their 18-month 50th celebration. If you are even considering planning a trip, go to trolleylanetravel.com and their Request a Quote page to get in contact with an agent. They will work you up a free, no-obligation quote so you can decide if this trip is right for your family. Becky helped Carrie plan her vacation, and trust me when I tell you that there really is no reason not to use a travel agent specializing in Disney. All of their services are complimentary to you when you book your trip with them. Visit them on Facebook and Instagram at Trolley Lane Travel LLC. And if you book a vacation with them and want to be on the show, let your agent know. This is how I get my guest. Okay, so let's get started. Imagine yourself standing on Main Street about to watch one of the last showings of Happily Ever After. And let's go. Hi, Carrie. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for having me. I'm super, super excited.
Yes, me too. Okay, so before we start, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your experience with Disney vacations.
Amazing. So I am Carrie. I am a mom to a little just turned 3-year-old, and I have an amazing husband who went on this Disney adventure with me without complaining once. And so we really, this was something just to celebrate our little man turning 3. I'm a huge believer that birthdays should not be celebrated just one day. They should be celebrated for the entire month. And so I really wanted to make this birthday for Jaxson just as magical as possible. And what better way to do that with a Disney trip for the family?
That's so exciting. I love it. So was this your first time to Disney World?
This was not my first time. I went with our family when I was in 4th grade. My parents saved and saved and saved for years to be able to take my sister and I to Disney World. So I was able to go to all of the parks. We did all of the things, including SeaWorld, including every Disney park. And then when I was older, I actually got to go as well. I worked for a company that sent us to Disney World for 4 years in a row. So I was fortunate that I got to go and enjoy Disney World as an adult. My husband, he went one time when he was in college for a day. And this was obviously Jackson's first time to Disney World.
That's so fun. So it practically was like your husband's first time.
Yes. I don't think he remembers anything from the one day that he went.
Yeah. So. Okay, so what dates did y'all travel?
So we traveled September 18th through the 25th. And so we kind of split it up a little bit. We drove down to Disney. I could not figure out how to get everything on a plane that I wanted to take. And so we decided that it would be best for us to drive. And so we split the trip up into a couple of days driving, we weren't quite sure how traveling with a toddler was going to be. It's either going to be really great or really bad. Lucky for us, it was really great. We didn't have any huge issues with that. So we drove down. We left on a Saturday, and we drove about 6.5 hours. We stayed in a place called Lake City, Florida. And then the next morning, we woke up and drove the rest of the trip into Orlando. And so we were able to stay about a week, and it was just absolutely magical.
So how far was your drive into Orlando that second morning?
So the second day, it was about 2.5 hours. We decided to leave and go straight to SeaWorld. So SeaWorld was our first day. I wanted to kind of just get Travis and Jaxson immersed a little bit into what we were going to expect the rest of the week. And so SeaWorld was just a great day just to kind of have a slow day, but still some really fun activities before we started our 12-mile daily treks.
Yes. So was SeaWorld busy? How were the crowds there?
It was not busy at all. We didn't really wait for anything. We had booked a meet and greet with the dolphins. So we got to do that. And then we rode maybe a couple of rides at SeaWorld, but we really just spent the day, looking at the dolphins, seeing all the animals and things like that. So we really just took it as an easy day. It started to rain just as we were leaving the park. So we did have a monsoon for our first day, but it was practice with the stroller cover and the ponchos and all of that. So it was just a great kind of trial run for what we were to expect.
So after y'all left SeaWorld, where did y'all go?
So we went and checked into our hotel. We had reservations that night at Disney Springs at the T-Rex Cafe. So we kind of spent that afternoon checking into the hotel, getting things unpacked. I am that type of person that want all of the suitcases unpacked when we first get there. I want them under the beds. I want all of the food unpacked, the refrigerator stocked, all of that kind of stuff. So we just spent a little bit of time just getting things organized so that everything for the rest of the trip went really smoothly. We had a little bit of a hilarious hiccup when we first got there. So we got to the hotel, figured out kind of where we needed to go. And then there were all these signs saying that we should check in with our phone. And I noticed that there was a long line of people checking in at the front counters. And so I said, okay, let's do the phone thing. I'm super techie, so we got this. So we get all of our items onto the rolling cart. We get up to the room. Jackson's super excited about getting into the room. And then the phone doesn't work. Nothing works. And needless to say, we had no idea that our magic band would work at the time. And the magic bands were packed at the top of the bag. So I could have easily just grabbed a magic band out. Totally didn't know that. And so we sat there probably for 10 or 15 minutes trying to get the key thing to work on my phone. We've had Travis's phone, all of this kind of stuff. And so I went back downstairs to get a key card. And then as soon as I get to the front of the line, Travis texts me that one of the housekeepers had let them into the room. And so I totally missed the whole first impression of Jaxson seeing our room.
Oh my gosh. Those are that just happens on vacation.
Yeah. But it was, we got the key cards. We found out that our magic bands work for the doors, which was just mind blowing. And then we got unpacked.
So what resort did y'all stay at?
So we stayed at Art of Animation, better known by our 3-year-old as Art of Artimation.
That's so cute.
Which I have various videos of. Every time he still says Art of Artimation, and I don't have the heart to correct him because it's just the cutest thing ever.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And then if you ask him where we lived for a week, he says that we lived in Radiation Springs,
Aww.
which is also the cutest thing.
Yeah, what were y'all's like first impressions of Art of Animation when you got there?
Oh my goodness. It was just mind-blowing is the only way to describe it. It felt like we were immersed in the movie. Everywhere you looked, it was hard for us even to get to our building because just wanted to stop at every single vehicle that was out there. I mean, it was just life-size everything. It just one after another, everywhere you turned, you just felt like you were in the movie. And so it just continued. So even once we got in the room, we were lucky enough to stay in one of the Disney Park suites. And it was the same thing. Everywhere you turned, in nook and crannies, there were things that represented the movies. The side tables were toolboxes. And so I was really, really impressed with just the attention to detail. So it wasn't like normal hotels where, you know, maybe they have one thing out front that's just kind of representative of their theme. This was just everything, the pools, the decor, things near the elevators, pictures that were in the hallway, just every single attention to detail had been there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like, it really is. You are immersed in that land, like whichever building you're staying in.
Yeah. And it really, I think for me, hearing about, you know, the different types of resort, a value resort versus a moderate resort, Disney's value resorts are beyond what I would think in my mind is what is value resort.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just, it's worth absolutely every penny.
That's
that
awesome.
You pay for it. Yeah.
Okay, so y'all went over to Disney Springs for dinner. Did y'all drive your own car or did you take the bus?
We drove. For us, it was just easier because we have the car seat for Jaxson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm huge on safety. So for me, being able to kind of have control of that, really important. So we did drive to Disney Springs. We also didn't want to have to rely on, you know, making it certain places on certain times. We just kind of wanted to be able to go at our own pace. And so we drove walked around for a little bit. So we didn't just go straight to dinner. We were able to go in a couple of the shops there. And then we had dinner reservations at the T-Rex. Actually, we didn't have dinner reservations at the T-Rex Cafe. We were going to dinner at the T-Rex Cafe. I actually got the Landry card, which I'm sure you know about the Landry card, but for anybody that doesn't know, there's certain restaurants that are part of the membership for Landry's, and you can call these restaurants and either make reservations to them, or when you walk up, you get priority seating. And so there were actually people who had, like, we overheard them where they were trying to walk up and it was going to be like a 2 or 3 hour wait.
Wow.
And we walked up with no reservations and we were quoted about 25 minutes. And then it actually was 11 minutes that we put
That's
for
awesome.
a table. Yeah. So it was 1,000% worth getting the Landry card.
Yes. That's so great. That's such good information too.
Yeah. I think that our dinosaur t-shirts may have helped that as well because I did make T-Rex t-shirts for his birthday. But I think the Landry card was probably the reason overall for it. And the Landry card is only $25, but we got a $30 credit to use towards our meal. And so it's actually, you don't actually pay anything for it in the long run. And it's something that you're able to use also at Rainforest Cafe, I think, and Yak and Yeti.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how was your dinner?
Oh, it was incredible. So I went in kind of thinking that T-Rex was going to be kind of like an upscale Applebee's is just what I had envisioned as far as the food quality. I knew that the atmosphere, even from going just walking into it. There were life-size dinosaurs that were moving. Just tons. Everywhere you looked, there was something dinosaur themed. They even had a place outside where the kids could dig for dinosaur bones, which was super cute. So I kind of thought it was going to be more about the atmosphere, and I thought the food was going to be your average Applebee's type food, but I was wrong. The food was amazing. It was probably one of our best meals that we had on the trip. And they had a huge portion for the kids. They were bringing Jaxson, yogurt, those yogurt pop things, while we waited for food because he was getting a little antsy. So they were really good about just making sure that he was entertained. And then we were able to sit in this kind of, I want to call it a cove kind of section. And it changed colors. So there were lights in there, and there were icicles on the ceiling. And about every 10 minutes, it would change colors.
Oh,
and
cool.
So just the experience was great. And the food was even better, to be honest.
That sounds so fun. What did y'all get to eat?
So I had meatloaf. And Travis had the most amazing rib. Chicken and ribs, which when he first ordered it, I was expecting, like a chicken breast and a few ribs, and we come out and it's literally an entire chicken almost.
Oh my gosh.
And then this huge slab of ribs. And then mine was this ginormous meatloaf to where we actually took food back to our hotel and had leftovers that night. And then Jaxson had a quesadilla with like some mac and cheese and some yogurt and fruit and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of your normal kids food.
Mm-hmm.
Hey parents, do your kids listen to podcasts? Do they like solving mysteries and flexing their imaginations? Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is a new children's mystery podcast. Your kid can join Billy Bonanza and Susie Sockington on exciting and wacky adventures as they attempt to solve mysteries around their school. Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is available now on all podcast platforms.
Well, that sounds so fun. When we went, I saw that restaurant and it's super cool looking, but that is good to know that the food is good as well.
Yes. And then they have a gift shop, of course, for you to get lots of fun toys afterwards. So we have this really cool dinosaur remote control car
that's cute.
that we got. Yeah.
So did y'all do anything else at Disney Springs after dinner?
We went to Sprinkles afterwards. So we gave Jaxson the choice. We could either do dessert at T-Rex or we could go get a cupcake. And so we went to the Sprinkles cupcake place, and he got a vanilla cupcake with sprinkles. And then I actually so I'm diabetic, and so I have to watch sugar intake, carb intake, and things like that. So I was a little worried, obviously, going to Disney where there are so many sweets and yummy food choices around that I was going to have a difficult time. But I didn't. I was able to find food choices everywhere. Even in Disney Springs, Sprinkles Cupcake had sugar-free cupcakes, which
awesome.
was pretty awesome. Yeah, so I was
so nice.
Really excited about that.
Yeah, I've heard that about Disney, that they are, there's all different kinds of food choices for different dietary needs. So that's really nice.
Yeah, and I was offered at various restaurants, if I needed to talk to the chef, all of the chefs were willing to have some kind of conversation with you. I didn't need to have that because they had food options and were willing to swap out things at every restaurant that we went, including T-Rex Cafe. They were just really willing to swap out anything that we needed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what'd y'all do after you got cupcakes?
So after we got cupcakes, we did a night after that. So we decided to go back to the hotel. Jaxson wanted to still take pictures with all of the Disney cars. I take picture with Lightning McQueen. I take picture with Luigi. I take picture. So I'm pretty sure that we have pictures every day of Jaxson with all of the Disney cars as we walked back to the hotel. But yeah, we tried to get some things ready for Magic Kingdom Day. Try to get the stroller kind of prepared and figure out how we were going to attack the next day.
That's exciting. So real quick, how were the crowds at the resort? Like, did the resort feel really busy or did it feel okay?
No, it didn't feel busy at all. I think it was busy, but because it's so big and so spread out, it just didn't feel congested. We even had no issues finding parking because we did, we used our car quite a bit, especially on the days that the Skyliner didn't run to where we were going. We used our vehicle. And so, there were nights that I would go to the grocery store to get waters or, snacks or things like that we had maybe forgotten, and just never had a trouble getting a close parking space. And the walk was really close to our hotel. So I think, if you were walking without being immersed in all of the fun things, it would probably seem like you were walking a really long ways. But because you are, engaged in all of the different scenery, it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like you have a long walk at all.
That's so true. When you're distracted, it's like, oh, look at this. Oh, I'm already here. All right. Exactly. Well, let's talk about your first park day. What park did y'all visit?
So we went to Magic Kingdom on our first day. And Jenny, it was just everything I imagined. It was everything I hoped. I feel like I texted Becky, and I asked her, I said, I don't know if we're just lucky because we're seeing all the characters that we want to see and we're seeing them often. I don't know if everybody gets this lucky. And she said, we're going to just say that it is your own personal pixie dust. And so it just was everything I dreamed of. And I couldn't have, I really went in trying to plan every little thing. But I didn't even print off our itinerary and just kind of went with the flow as much as possible. But when we drove there the first day, and we didn't do preferred parking the first day because we got there pretty early, so we got a close parking space anyways at the transportation center. And then rode the monorail in, which Jaxson absolutely loves the monorail. He made up his own song. So he literally would be sitting there going, Monorail, 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 Monorail. I love the Monorail, Monorail, Monorail. And so every cute. Time, it's just so adorable. And so you probably could have put this kid on the monorail all day and not even gone to any of the parks. And he just would have been so happy. So we rode the monorail in, and it just getting to the front of Magic Kingdom, it just took my breath away. I might cry. I'm sorry. I always dreamed of having kids, and Jackson's like our only one that we're going to have. And this would always be, we would go to Disney, like when I went with the company that I was with, you would always see families with their kids and things like that. Gosh, I just hope that I get to have that experience one day. And it just was all of that just coming to fruition. And just everything that I had prayed for just was right there. And so it was just really special.
That's wonderful. It is special. Like, I don't know, people who haven't been to Disney, they don't understand like what it feels like, especially when you take your kids for the first time. Like, it is special.
Yeah. And just to see his eyes got so big, they lit up. And he just had this wonder in his eyes that you can't replicate. And so it was just really magical. So I think though my husband was probably going to kill me when we first got there, because I did book a capture the moment photo session, which we had that around 9:15. And so when we first got to the park, we actually were in different outfits than we were going to wear throughout the day. And so I had jeans on and this really cute purple shirt, which was not appropriate for the weather, but it was really cute for pictures. And then we had this first trip Disney shirt that was embroidered for Jaxson. And so when we first got there, I changed into high heels, which I don't recommend walking through the park in high heels, but it looked really great for pictures.
Yeah.
And so when we first walked in under that bridge, Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Daisy were all at the top of the bridge. And it was like it was just meant for us. And so the perfect timing, when we first got there on our first day, Jaxson got to see Mickey and Minnie in their 50th anniversary costumes at the top of the bridge,
so cool.
which was just amazing. And so then we checked in with the capture the moment photographer. I changed it to my heels, and then they were great. We went to 2 different spots in the park. So we went to this little kind of side street. There was nobody there. It was literally just us and the photographer. And she captured all of these sweet pictures of Jaxson with this sign that says 3 magical years. She took a picture with this chair that had a heart on it where you can kind of see us through the chair.
Well, that's cute.
Yeah. And then we went and we took pictures in front of the castle and kind of to the side of the castle. And just seeing Jaxson, I think one of the most just precious memories was doing that photo session. He got to dance in front of the castle. He was just kind of jumping around and he was pointing to the castle, and she captured it all.
That's
And
so cool.
I got to actually kind of just be a part of the memory without me having my phone and trying to get all of those pictures. I got to watch him have that experience. And I think for me, that was just amazing.
Yeah, those photo sessions are so cool. I've talked to a couple of other guests that have done them, and yeah, it's just a great opportunity for all the parents to get pictures without being stressed out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we did the memory maker, which 1,000% recommend. We ended up with close to 300 pictures on a memory maker. 70 of them came from the capture the moment. And so I'm not sure if everybody knows, but when you do the capture the moment, if you also have memory maker, you get all of the pictures included in your memory maker. And so we didn't have to pay extra for any of those. We only paid $50 for the photo session, which is the cheapest photo session I've ever had in my life.
Yes.
Yeah. And they typically have 2 people. So they had a second photographer that was also trying to get smiles and help with the session. And so it's absolutely worth the $50 plus the memory maker.
That sounds wonderful. Okay, so what y'all do after your photo session?
Oh, so after the photo session, we rode lots of rides. And we kind of let Jaxson, we were right there in the front of everything when you first come in. So we were right near the carousel, and It's a Small World and kind of all of those rides. And so we let Jaxson look around and we asked him what he wanted to do first. And he picked the carousel as his first ride, which I think, secretly hoping that he would pick. And so we all got on. Sadly, Travis didn't get a horse. But he was able to stand there next to us. And so Jaxson and I rode together on the carousel. And he loved it. He just thought it was the best thing ever. We've ridden on other carousels that maybe the horses don't move, or we've done one at the zoo where, you're on like zebras or giraffes or things like that. But I think this carousel is just whimsical. And so I think that's why he probably loved it so much. And then afterwards we did It's a Small World. So that was our second ride. And that was another time where just looking at Jaxson, his mouth was just open the entire time because he was completely awestruck. He could not figure out what he wanted to look at.
Mm-hmm.
He would turn his head and see one thing, and then something else would catch his eye, and he just couldn't figure out what he wanted to kind of focus on. But he absolutely loved It's a Small World. I did realize, I don't know if everybody else has realized this, but Disney has a lot of boat rides.
Yes, they do.
There are a lot of boats at Disney.
They do.
I wish we would have told how many rides were boat rides, but I think it probably would have been at least 75% of Disney rides are boat rides.
I wonder why they do that, but that is so true. It's kind of funny.
And then we rode Peter Pan, which was another great ride. And we didn't wait. So for the carousel and for It's a Small World, it was maybe a 15-minute posted wait time. And I want to say we probably waited actually 10 minutes.
That's awesome.
I think part of the time is actually walking through the queue to get to where the line is. And then by the time you get there, they're already kind of loading people on boats. So we really didn't have a long wait time. We ended up, though, before we did the Peter Pan ride, I did qualify for a DAS pass, which is a disability pass. Because I'm diabetic and we're at Disney, I was afraid that I would need to test my sugar more often. And I didn't want to be testing my blood in line.
Right.
Which that might be TMI. But so I also was a little worried about, with us walking so much, I was more worried about my sugar actually dropping too low, and then not having anything in line to be able to kind of like that back up. So after the Small World ride, we were able to use the DAS pass. And so essentially the DAS pass, you still wait in the line, but we were able to go and like sit down somewhere, or we were able to go to a show, or wasn't as long of a wait. And then we were able to get a return time to go back to the other rides. We never really had to wait in a line because of that. Like in a traditional line, we still had to wait and do things, but we didn't have to wait in that traditional line throughout the entire visit, essentially.
Well, that's really good. I think that's also really good for people listening to know, because I wouldn't have thought you could get one if you were diabetic, but it actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I was more worried about if there was like an hour or 2 hour wait. Like, is this okay to bring in line? Is it not? Like, I don't know.
Right.
I didn't want to make anybody else uncomfortable if I'm like, breaking out all of my diabetic supplies. And so for us, it just made the most sense so that I wasn't uncomfortable. And so we didn't make anybody else uncomfortable.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And then the Peter Pan ride. So if you ask Jaxson what rides he liked and what rides he didn't like, he did not like the Peter Pan ride. So I would say if you have a really little one, definitely proceed with, if we're scared of things easily. He was like scared of the alligator. If you ask him like what he didn't like in that ride, he immediately talks about the alligator. And so we didn't do that one again. I think It's a Small World, because there weren't any kind of scary type things in that one. He loved It's a Small World, but he was fine with the actual being up in the sky on the Peter Pan ride, but it was just the actual physical parts of the ride that he wasn't a fan of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then also Pirates of the Caribbean. So we did that one kind of towards the end of the day. And I'm pretty sure, was going to try to jump out of that ride if he could have.
Oh, no.
I kind of feel bad for everybody else that was on our ride, because he just immediately after we started going, I want off. I do not want to be on this ride. I want off. Get me out of here. I all done. And we were like, you gotta get to the end, buddy. There's no way for us to go back.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so the pirates were a little much for him, even though he tells me every day that he wants to be a pirate for Halloween. He did not like pirates on that ride.
So what other rides did he like?
He loved Dumbo. So after we did like a lunch picnic kind of in the middle of the day. So there's this sea area kind of in the middle of the park. There's not a lot of shade, some shade. And so we did a little picnic there. There's one thing where we didn't do a lot of quick service throughout our trip. We packed mainly peanut butter jelly sandwiches, chips, fruit, veggies, snacks, things like that. And so we mainly did picnics or stopped and just kind of sat on a bench and ate lunches. And so after lunch, we went to the area, I forget what it's called. Is it Tomorrowland where Dumbo is? And so we went there next. He absolutely loved the Barnstormer. I'll have to send you a picture because I have this hilarious picture of him on it. Where he and Travis rode it together, and then I kind of sat in front of them, so I was able to get a picture and a video actually going on the roller coaster, which thank goodness I didn't lose my phone, because I probably almost did a couple of times on there.
Yes.
But we did that in Dumbo. He ended up we rode Dumbo twice that day, and then on our second Magic Kingdom day, what we'll talk about later, he actually rode Dumbo another 2 times.
Aww.
So he loved the Dumbo ride. And then he wanted to ride the Barnstormer a second time, which I was getting on there with him. And then we get on there and we ended up at the front of the roller coaster. And he just completely melted and was trying to sit on my lap, which he wasn't allowed to do. And so he actually had to get off of the Barnstormer. Yeah. And he didn't get to ride it the second time, but overall he really liked that one. And then I'm trying to think of the other rides that we rode. Let me pull up Disney map.
I think the teacups are over there.
Oh yes,
Winnie the Pooh.
So we did the teacups the first day. Those were also, I think that was his favorite ride of all time, were the teacups. Travis doesn't do spinny rides like that, and so I rode the teacups with him each time. And he just, it was to the point where he was trying to kick me off the ride so he could ride by himself. And so
oh my gosh.
The ride ended, and then I went to get out, and I was going to grab him, and he shut the door to the teacups on me and sat back down.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to pull him off the ride and, let him know that it was other people's turn to ride the teacups. But we did ride those. We rode the teacups several times.
That's fun.
Throughout our time there. And then we saved some of the longer, so things like the Jungle Cruise and the Winnie the Pooh, we saved those for our second day, and we did some of the kind of shorter, quicker rides on our first day. And so we didn't, I want to say we weren't in that mode of get to every single ride because we knew that we had a second day. Mm-hmm. And so we just kind of were taking it in. We would stop and get, a pretzel or something. And so we weren't kind of in that mode of get to every single ride one after another. We also rode the cars that day in the Tomorrowland Speedway, I think it's called. and he absolutely loved the cars. And it was so funny because Travis, so these cars, they're hooked onto a track, and so there's no way he's going to drive off into the bushes. It's not going to happen. But Travis was a little worried, and so Travis sat in the driver's seat the first time, and Jaxson sat in the passenger seat, and I was in a car in front of them. And it was so funny because I was trying to get pictures of him, but Jaxson was so short that you can only see his hair in all the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And so the second time that we rode it was our second Magic Kingdom day, and I rode it with Jaxson, and I let him sit in the driver's seat, and I sat in the passenger seat. And now, while we're at home, he wants to start the car. He wants to drive the car. So we started some bad habits while we were at Disney with him being in the driver's seat.
That's part of the fun of that ride, though, because they can't veer off course. It's not like a go-kart.
Yeah. But yeah, I think those are all of the rides that we did the first day. We did see several cavalcades. We're able to see Tinkerbell. We saw a Mickey and Minnie one with Goofy on it. So we always stopped. So anytime one of the parades came through, we always stopped, got him out of the stroller and just spent that time, pushing to the next thing, but really just enjoying the dancing and the music and all of that stuff.
That's so fun. I love those.
And then we did, so Travis and I did ride some adult rides too. So we really took advantage of Rider Swap. I didn't know about Rider Swap until Mickey told me about Rider Swap. I had no idea it was a thing. And it is the most genius thing that Disney has, because while Jaxson was napping, so we did stroller napping pretty much our entire trip. So right after, usually between 1 and 2, he would start to fall asleep in the stroller. And then we would put a cooling towel on him while he was napping. And then we would ride all the adult rides at that point and did Rider Swap. And so we were able to ride Big Thunder Mountain, I think it's called, and Splash Mountain.
Big Thunder.
So we were both,
yeah,
we were both of those, and it was amazing because we I didn't think we were going to be able to ride as many adult rides as we did, but it just made us want to go to Disney as adults. And so now, we're thinking, how can we do just a Travis Carrie trip so that, we can do all of those bigger rides and things like that. But we definitely took advantage of his nap times for that.
That's so smart.
So after, here's where my planning did not go so well. In my mind, so I am usually an overpacker and pack extra things, extra clothes, all this kind of stuff. I got on such a t-shirt frenzy to where I packed, each day had biker shorts and a t-shirt for each of us, and it was in a Ziploc baggie and it was labeled. I didn't really pack anything extra for me because I was like, these are my days and we're good. So I kind of thought that we would go straight from Magic Kingdom to our dinner reservation without going back to our hotel. That is not what happened. Travis said we should probably go back to the hotel and freshen up, and then we can go to dinner and see the fireworks and things like that. So I kind of panicked because I didn't have clothes. I was like, wait, we're wearing actual outfits that are not Disney t-shirts. And so I found one white shirt that I had that actually worked, but that was kind of a small panic where I had overplanned a little bit and didn't quite have any extra wiggle room with outfits. But we had reservations at Ohana, and I had kind of heard through one of the mom groups that I'm in that it's just a really beautiful place to watch the fireworks. There's a beach area in front of the resort. And so I knew that if we got reservations there, that we would be able to park there without having to worry about not being at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went back after Magic Kingdom. We left. We went back to the hotel. Everybody freshened up. And then we drove to the resort where Ohana is.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the resort.
The Polynesian?
The Polynesian. So we drove to the Polynesian. And we got there a little bit early, so we were able to kind of walk around a little bit. We checked in. I will say the mobile check-in for restaurants is amazing. So you're able to let them know that you're there. You get a text message whenever your table's ready. So it just made things super easy, especially with, getting Jaxson out and like not getting him out of the stroller too soon, so that he didn't get too antsy.
Mm-hmm.
And so our table was ready. The food, oh my goodness, the food was so great at Ohana. It was so Travis typically doesn't do, he's kind of like a burger chicken kind of guy. He typically doesn't venture out into any other styles of food.
Mm-hmm.
And so he actually really liked a lot of the food though, that Ohana had. It was neat where it's an all you care to eat, I think is how they describe it.
Uh-huh.
And so they just keep bringing food out as you want it. So there's all these different courses that they bring out. There were noodles, there were pot stickers, there were chicken wings. They brought things out for Jaxson that he could eat. It was so yummy. They had these cheddar biscuit things. I don't even know how to describe them, but it was kind of like the Red Lobster rolls, I think is the only way I can describe them. And so they had those, which Jaxson just devoured. And the service was really great too. So there was somebody that was going around and he was, playing a little ukulele thing, and just really great atmosphere. I heard that Ohana used to have character dining, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even think the atmosphere without the characters was amazing. We thought the music that they were playing was just music over a loudspeaker, and then we realized there's actually somebody playing that music behind us.
Oh, that's cool.
That was really neat.
Yeah.
And the person coming around, he interacted with Jaxson and just really made it special.
That's so good. That's so good to hear, because I've been wondering if without the characters, it's worth doing dinner there.
Absolutely. The food and the atmosphere is worth it. I think the price is great, especially for all you care to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can get a better value, personally. And then you have the beach. And so especially being able to watch the fireworks, we were able to put the stroller in sand. So we didn't even have to take Jaxson out of the stroller. We had headphones for him, but we didn't really need the headphones. And we really felt there were probably about 100 people that were out there watching the fireworks. But it felt like we had our own personal viewing of the fireworks, just because we got our own kind of little space on the beach. So I would highly recommend it. I think for me, you don't want to miss the fireworks show in person at the Magic Kingdom, because we were able to do that our second day. But if you want to watch it multiple times, being on the beach is just a really magical way to do it. You miss seeing the projections is the only thing like you don't see, but you can still hear the music. So they still play all of the music at the Polynesian.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better than any 4th of July fireworks that you'll go to.
Yeah, that sounds so special. And like you said, it's a different way to see the fireworks. I think that's really cool, especially if you're going to be there multiple days and have multiple opportunities. I think it's fun to try to find different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I think if you only have one Magic Kingdom day, I would watch the fireworks at the Magic Kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
but if you are afforded the ability to have a couple of Magic Kingdom days, or even not even, not even multiple Magic Kingdom days, just if you have an extended vacation where you can book a dinner reservation at Ohana, definitely book it so that you can see the fireworks there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So after y'all watched the fireworks, did y'all head back to the resort?
We did. We were Disney tired.
Yeah. That's very tired.
I think we walked 12 miles our first day.
Oh my gosh.
And we were grateful for all of the shoe recommendations we had gotten. But yeah, we were really tired. I think that is the first time, when we got back to the hotel, Jaxson just normally, it takes a little bit to get him to sleep. He was just down for the count.
Yep.
And so I think he would have slept, if we would have let him sleep until 10 o'clock the next day, he 1,000% would have slept till 10 almost every day that we were there.
Oh my gosh.
And he's a 6 a.m. wake up baby. So
yeah, that's what Disney will do it to you. It does it to the best of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so your second park day, what park did y'all visit?
We did Animal Kingdom on the second day.
Did y'all rope drop Animal Kingdom? Did y'all get there early?
We did not. I had all intentions of rope dropping every single park, and it didn't happen any day.
Yep. That sounds very familiar.
There just was not a way to get us all up and get us all ready and make sure that Jaxson had breakfast. The first day at Magic Kingdom, we still had to pack stuff in the stroller that morning. So I was telling myself that night, okay, you need to do a better job at packing things for the stroller. It didn't happen. We were so tired that it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we're still packing stuff in the stroller for Animal Kingdom, changing up what we wanted to pack, things that we didn't use the first day, kind of rewriting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, no rope drop happened. We did get there fairly early, though. I want to say we were there about 9:30. No, 8:30. We got there about 30 minutes after they opened.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
So, yeah, it wasn't, we still got there early, but we definitely were not in the rope drop category.
Mm-hmm.
And we drove up to Animal Kingdom again, which was super easy. We got close parking again. The parking was never an issue for us.
That's awesome.
Anywhere we drove, we were able to get parked, easily find a space, and it was never a really long walk to the front of the park.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing y'all did when y'all got to Animal Kingdom?
Very first thing that we did, obviously, was take pictures in front of the big sign. I think that's why I ended up with 300 photos in our Disney Pass, because I was always on the lookout for someone for us to take those fun, magical pictures.
Yep.
So that was the first thing we did. The first ride that we rode, though, is the safari. So we did the Kilimanjaro Safari.
Mm-hmm.
What I had heard and kind of everything I researched was either do it really early or later in the afternoon, just because the animals, when it starts to get hotter, they're going to be more inclined to kind of go into the shade or just not be out and about.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say the safari, out of everything we did at Disney, was probably one of Jackson's favorite things. The really cool thing, I don't realize this, but it is an actual vehicle. It is not on a track. It's not, there is a actual person driving the car while they're kind of telling you about all of the animals. They're telling you about the conservation. It's kind of this really unique combination of being in a safari, also being at a zoo, but also being in a ride. One while also being at some kind of like educational event. So it's just it's literally the best combination of anything that I've seen at Disney. And so I would say that was probably one of the biggest highlights of the trip for me, was the safari. The tour guide, he was just really knowledgeable of everything. So it wasn't just, here's an elephant. It was talking about, the history, why elephants are, why they're poached, why certain animals are endangered, why, just really why we want to conserve, the animal population and how important different animals are to the ecosystem and things like that. So it was so great that I tried to take a picture, like after we got out of the safari ride. I took a picture of the actual guide, just with him in the truck.
That's awesome.
So we could remember, who shared all these really great pieces of information with us. It was really hard. So we were in, the one thing that I've been really impressed with at Disney is that anytime you get in a ride now is they only let one family unit sit on a row together. And so you're not getting squished in there with people that you don't know. And so it's really cool because we were at the very front of the bus, and so Travis was on one side, I was on the other, and Jaxson was in the middle. And there were things happening to our right, things happening to our left. And so Jaxson was literally jumping from mom to dad, trying to kind of see all of the different things that were happening. And he just was getting so excited every time something new would come up. And we were really lucky. We literally saw every animal that was on the safari.
That's so cool.
The guide himself was getting excited. He was, we saw literally a herd of elephants. He was like, oh my gosh, guys, there are never this many that we see. And so he was even getting excited about seeing some of these animals, which proved to me that we were getting kind of a unique safari that not everybody gets to experience. And then I was taking a video, and all of a sudden a giraffe starts to come up to the side, and the guide says, "Ooh, we gotta go." And so in this video, kind of as I pan to the left, you'll see this giraffe almost walk up to where its head is like almost where Travis is sitting.
Oh my gosh.
Was just incredible.
That's so great.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's so cool.
So after the safari, there was a 10:30 showing for Lion King, and we were debating on should we go do something and come back, or should we just kind of wait? And we decided to wait. And it's one of those things where if you're at Disney and your face is in your phone, or you're just trying to go, you're totally going to miss really magical moments. And we decided to wait, and there was this kind of near the Lion King area, there was this, almost looked like a gate sort of that was built into the side of the wall, and it was overlooking the river. And Jaxson went over, and he just wanted to look at the river, and we were just kind of investigating and trying to figure out what all this stuff was. And about that time, there was a boat that passed through with Pocahontas on it, and Jackson's the only one that saw her. There were all of these people that were just hustle and bustle and just kind of not taking those moments to pause. Here Travis is just kind of sitting with him, looking at the water, and then all of a sudden Pocahontas goes by. And so I was able to get the picture of her where you can almost see her facial expression towards Jaxson, and just a really sweet moment with him and this character that wouldn't have happened otherwise had we just kind of been going too fast, I guess. And then the Lion King show, oh, wow. I was just in awe. of the level of detail to that show. We were a little worried that, because Jaxson hasn't really been to a sit-down show at all, especially that was that long. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, is he going to sit for this? Are we going to have to be near an exit where, if he starts to scream, we can easily get out without disrupting, the entire crowd. But he sat there and just loved the show. At the different parts where the audience was clapping, he just absolutely loved it. The fire, there was also like someone that was like a fire dancer that blew me away. I didn't think we were going to get to see anything like that because they've kind of removed all of the luau's and all of those kind of things from Disney. But being able to see that indoors was spectacular.
That's really awesome. And knowing that it would be a good option for a small child to go see, because sometimes you never know, but that show is so entertaining. I don't see how anyone could just not just sit and stare.
Yeah, it's, if we could have gone back, if we would have had time to do it a second time, I absolutely would have gone back a second time to the show. We just didn't have the time in order to get everything else done. I hear people talking about doing a half day at Animal Kingdom, and I just don't know how you can do all of the things in a half day at Animal Kingdom. For us, it definitely was a full day. The park I would go to twice, for sure.
Yeah, I think people who do half days, they don't do everything there. They just kind of hit the big stuff and then leave. But yeah, there's so much, just walking around that park is gorgeous.
Yes. So many details that if you're not looking for them, you kind of miss them. So I could see how people, could walk through and be like, oh, I did this. But there's a lot of just really kind of cute small things that are neat to look at.
Yeah. So what other rides did y'all do?
So we did, so there weren't a lot of rides for Jaxson to ride. He missed the water ride, the big tube ride. He missed the height. Literally his hair was touching the bar. Like his head didn't touch, but his hair was. And there's wiggle room, which I'm grateful for. A lot of people will say, they're fine, but for safety reasons, I get why if you're not touching it, there's no way to say, okay, well, this height is okay, but this one isn't. So you either hit the bar or you don't. And I've heard where a lot of people try to put their kids in higher shoes and stuff like that. But for me, it's there's a reason if, I don't want my kids sliding out of a ride, for
Seriously.
sure. So definitely don't try to put your kid in bigger shoes to hit a height requirement. There's always another Disney trip where they will meet the height requirement.
Yes.
But after the Lion King show, we went to the Pandora area, and we did Flight of Passage, which I loved it. It was absolutely incredible. Travis got a little sick after, so didn't quite do as well. He gets a little bit more motion sick. I probably should have told him not to get on the ride, but I just thought you have to at least experience it while you're there.
Right.
But while he was riding it, I got Jaxson lunch, and we just kind of we were right in front of that big Pandora display. And it was really funny because each day we brought this big cooler that we attached to the stroller. Well, if Jaxson wasn't in the stroller, there was no counterweight. So if you didn't take the cooler off of the stroller before taking Jaxson out of the stroller, then the stroller would fall over.
Right.
Well, Travis was on the ride, and so I had Jaxson by myself, and so we were going to sit down and, just eat some lunch. Well, I get him out without taking the cooler off. The stroller falls over. I fall backward. I'm trying to like make sure that I don't lose my child. And luckily he just sat on this little rock while all of this chaos is happening, and just patiently waited. But it was really funny because he just looked so cute sitting there, and you could see all of this huge Pandora stuff in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So while I've like crashed down backwards, I get my phone and I start taking pictures of him.
That's so funny.
And I'm sure everybody's like, what is this girl doing? Her stroller's fallen. Her kid is like probably going to run away soon, and she's just taking pictures. But I got some cutest pictures, I think, of the entire trip of Jaxson in that moment. So that was pretty funny. And some really sweet person helped me get the stroller back up, which was great.
That's so nice.
But we did that. And then there was I forget the name of the ride. There was another boat ride.
The Navi River Journey?
Yes, the Navi River Journey. The 10th boat ride that we were on. No, I'm kidding. So we went on that with Jaxson. He absolutely loved it. He really just most of the boat rides minus Pirates of the Caribbean he loved.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't one that he didn't like minus the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the Navi River Journey, and then afterward we tried to do the other boat ride, but that was the one that he was a little too short for. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of, Travis was not feeling super good because of the flight of passage.
Mm-hmm.
Jaxson was kind of getting a little tired. And so we ended up, I did a couple of rides by myself. So I did the Everest ride, mm-hmm. which was amazing. It's really cool too because there's a single rider line for that ride. And so you get paired with somebody else who's also a single rider. And so I rode with her name was Brittany. She was from New Jersey, and her boyfriend had ridden the ride, but they wanted to keep riding it. And so they ended up splitting up and doing single rider, which just makes it go faster. So while all of these other people are waiting 30, 45 minutes, anybody who's in the single rider, they just literally get right on the ride, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So we rode that one. I was not prepared for any of this roller. I had no idea what this roller coaster was about. And so normally I do really well on roller coasters. This one made my head spin a little bit. But it was really fun. I was really grateful because Travis still was, really on board with me doing some of the things I wanted to do, mm-hmm. even though he was just kind of over it at that point.
Yeah.
So then we had reservations at 6:30 for Yak and Yeti, which I did. I didn't book through the Disney app. I booked directly with the restaurant with the mm-hmm. link. But we just knew at that point that we weren't going to make it to 6:30 for dinner. Travis and I both were hungry. We had all had our lunches and our snacks, but we were just still really hungry. And so we decided that maybe we should try to do just like an earlier reservation, because I still really wanted to go to Yak and Yeti. I wanted to try everything on the menu that I had seen. So it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to do dinner there. I just wanted to go to that restaurant, mm-hmm. Because I had heard so many great things about it. And so we walked up, and again, this Landry card, it's magic in your purse. And I told them that we wanted to try to get in a little bit earlier. And I said I had a Landry reservation, and they're like, oh, they kind of perk up. And she said, well, we could probably get a table for you in about 25 minutes. And I said, okay. And I felt kind of bad because there was another family that had tried to walk up, and they were quoted like an hour wait mm-hmm. time. And so they were just going to give up and not go to the restaurant. So we decided to go get a picture in front of the Tree of Life while we waited for the table. And we actually got a table notification while we were getting pictures at the Tree of Life.
Oh
So
my
it was
gosh.
probably 10 to 15 minutes we waited for a table there.
That's so cool.
So just amazing experience. When we were at the restaurant, the manager came over just to make sure that, we had a great meal, that everything was satisfactory. He was telling Jaxson happy birthday and all of that stuff. So it was just a really great experience. The service was impeccable at Yak and Yeti.
That's so good. I've always wanted to eat there too because I've heard the food is so good, but we've just never made our way over there.
I got these nachos that had tuna. It was almost like sushi grade tuna on these nachos, and the nachos were made out of wontons. And
yum.
They had this sauce. It was the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life, minus the meatloaf at T-Rex Cafe, which was also one of the best things. And Travis had, I forget, Travis had, but at the end, Jaxson also had this cookie for dessert that they brought out for his birthday.
Aww, that's so
that
cute.
had ice cream in the middle of it. And so they just really went above and beyond as far as making sure that, we were knowing that we were celebrating Jackson's birthday for the week. And I feel like they just really went above and beyond to make sure that it was celebratory, I guess you could say.
That's wonderful. That's so good to know.
And then most fun, cutest thing happened after dinner. So we thought it was going to start raining. It kind of looked like the weather kind of had some patches of storm clouds and things like that. But we decided to go. We asked Jaxson if he wanted to go home, if he wanted to go back to. So anytime we talked about going home, we said, do you want to go back to Radiator Springs or do you want to go do XYZ? And so we asked him if he wanted to go to Dinoland. And of course, we wanted to go to Dinoland. And so we went to the dinosaur area of Animal Kingdom, which was absolutely darling. Another thing Disney really loves are the Dumbo type rides. So we realized that there are rides similar to Dumbo, but themed different at pretty much every park, which is kind of cool. Because he loved Dumbo, and so he immediately loved the ride at Dinoland that was it was themed dinosaurs, but it was very similar to the Dumbo ride. And so we got to ride that, and then they have these little games. They're almost like fair games where, you're shooting water through a little hole, or you're throwing a ball trying to get it into like a certain color. And you can pretty much, there was nobody in that section. It was completely empty almost. And so for the first game, it literally was just Jaxson and Travis playing against each other. So he was guaranteed to get a stuffed animal. So he got this little kind of Triceratops face stuffed animal for the first game. The second game, cute. Travis actually won, like he got it in one of the colors that he needed. So he got this big Triceratops that actually had Animal Kingdom 2021 on the paw print. So it was exactly like one of the stuffed animals that you would buy in the gift shop.
That's awesome.
So that was amazing. And then I did a game with him where we like squirt the water in the thing, and we didn't realize that we were actually playing against people on the other side.
Oh, that's funny.
But I ended up winning that one. So this kid got 30 stuffed animals from the little games in that section, which was really cool.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it was just super, super cute. He loved it. And then we got back. So that was the night. We actually just ordered pizza that night at the hotel because we'd had that kind of late lunch, early dinner at Yak and Yeti. So we didn't really need to do a full-on dinner. And so we ordered pizza that night. And then once we got back to our hotel, we knew that was really going to be one of the only nights that we were able to go and do the pool and the splash pad. And so we got back and just immediately changed into bathing suits. And the hotel had this super cute splash pad that had like an octopus and all of these, little animals that kind of like squirt water out. And then there was a bigger pool where they had life jackets available for the kids. And so Jaxson spent a lot of time on the splash pad while we were able just to kind of relax, have a drink by the pool. And then we spent some time in like the big adult pool with him with his life jacket on. So that was so fun. Really fun. Yeah.
Did y'all like that pool?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah. And the water was warm. It wasn't, the splash pad was cold, but the actual like larger pool was warm. But Jaxson probably would have spent an entire day just on the splash pad and would have been super happy about it. I would say that was our only regret, was that we did not build in a resort day to our trip. If we go again, well, when we go again, we'll definitely build in a resort day because we were trying to kind of find time to just go to the splash pad, and it felt like we were taking time away from some of the park time that we wanted. And then also keeping him up much later than we wanted, just so that we could have pool time. Right. So that was our only kind of regret, was not doing that resort time.
Yeah, I think, I feel like that is a lesson you learn after your first trip, because we did the same thing. Our very first trip, we did not book in a resort day. And then the next couple of trips we did, because, yeah, you really need it just to at least regroup and get going again.
Yeah. So lesson learned, but, hindsight's 2020, and we'll definitely do it next time.
That's awesome. So what did y'all do your third park day?
Oh, excuse me. Third day was magical. Magical. It was also, so this was the day that, it was our Epcot day, which I think I mentioned earlier. I have a really funny story that we'll get into in a little bit. We also had some hiccups with our car. So our first day at Animal Kingdom, or our day at Animal Kingdom, we had a little alert on the car that said low tire pressure. So we didn't really worry about it. We got back in the car and it still said low tire pressure. And so before we went back to the hotel, we stopped by like a gas station to look at the tire pressure. Turns out there was a screw in the tire.
Oh no.
So I told Travis, I said, we have to figure this out on our Epcot day, because Epcot doesn't open till 11. If we don't get this figured out, we're going to mess up our other park days. I was like, so we have to figure this out. And he was trying to like go to this like mom and pop place, like is like a no name place. I was like, no, I need you to go to like a Discount Tires. I need you to go to somewhere that's like a big name place. Because if you go to a mom and pop and they don't have what we need, it's just going to eat into the day even more and more. And it's just not going to work. So Wednesday morning, he made a lot of calls and was able to get something set up where, after our breakfast, he was able to take the car, to get the tire fixed, while Jaxson and I just kind of chilled in the hotel. But for breakfast, we got to go to Topolino's. Oh my goodness. It was the best breakfast of my entire life. If you're only able to book one meal your entire trip, you have to book Topolino's for breakfast. It is not an option. I feel like it should automatically be built into every single person's Disney vacation. You just have to go. It's just, if anybody who listens to this podcast tells me about their trip and tells me they didn't go to Topolino's, I'm going to be really sad. So they have to go. So we get there, and even while we were waiting for our table, Jaxson, he was kind of at an angle where he could see into the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I was at an angle where I couldn't, but he kept saying like, Donald, Donald. And so he would see some of the characters go by. And so I just knew, I said, this is going to be terrible. And so we get to our, we get called for our table to be ready. And we even had to kind of pause. We weren't able to walk to our table because the characters were starting to come out. And he was just awestruck. They were playing this great music, and it just was, it was beyond anything I could have imagined. And so we get to our table, and the service was really great. I'm sure, I don't think there's probably there, especially one where you have to make reservations, where you're going to have anything less than amazing service. But,
right.
They immediately come to your table, immediately get your drink orders. They bring these like pastries out to the table. They had chocolate sauce and raspberry sauce and the syrup. And I even cheated. I had done and I had to cheat and taste one of these pastries because it just looked phenomenal, and it absolutely was phenomenal.
I mean, it's too tempting, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to walk a lot and just make sure that my sugar doesn't go up after this. And so the first initial experience of it was great. Well, the characters start coming out one by one. And we were able to essentially, I kind of had a plan. I said, okay, Travis, you're going to take him out of the high chair, stand him here, turn him around. I'm going to get a picture with a character in the background. And so each time a character came by, we were able to do that. So I got a picture with him, every single character. And they have Minnie, Donald, and Daisy. And so it was spectacular.
That's so fun.
There was even a moment where Jaxson blows Daisy a kiss, and she kind of grabs it and puts it on her hip.
Aww.
And it was the cutest thing ever. So I did get that on video. I'll have to send you a video of that because it was darling. The food was amazing. They had a ton of options too for dietary restrictions. The portions were really good. It didn't feel like you were just eating a little tiny breadcrumb. The portions were really great size. Jaxson, of course, got the Mickey waffles because how can you not go to a Disney breakfast and not get the Mickey waffles? So he really loved those. He doesn't eat a ton for breakfast, so I knew that he wouldn't, I knew that the breakfast was more about the experience than all of the food. But the food was still really, really great.
That's so fun.
Yeah. And then we went out they have this terrace area that you can take pictures on. And so we went out on the terrace, and we were about to come back in, but whenever the characters are out, they don't allow you to go back into the restaurant while they're going around. And so we were just kind of standing out there waiting. And then all of a sudden, Donald comes over to the window, and he starts kind of interacting with Jaxson, and Jackson's trying to give him high fives on the window, and he keeps like moving his hand around.
Oh, that's so funny.
So it was just absolutely adorable. Of course, everybody that was in the restaurant, they saw this happening, so everybody was watching it. And so when we walked back in, they were just so beyond excited for what they had just witnessed, I guess.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh, what like a cool magical moment.
Yeah, it was. Topolino's was one of my favorite. And I have to think about magical moments. That was it, because him seeing the characters and being that close. He doesn't have any. This was his first Disney trip, and so he doesn't have prior experiences where you could interact with the characters as far as touching them and hugging them and things like that. So he didn't really have that to compare it to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for Jaxson being that close to the characters, just it almost felt like they came out of the TV and were magically planted where he was.
That's
and
so cool.
it was really cool experience. He also loved the Skyliner, so we took the Skyliner to the Riviera, and Jaxson just loves the Skyliner. He even last night he was watching a YouTube video of a ski lift, and he said, "Oh, is this a Skyliner?" I said, "No, buddy. It's kind of like a Skyliner, but it's not the actual Skyliner."
That's fun.
So he loved the Skyliner.
So then y'all took the Skyliner over to Epcot after breakfast?
We did. Well, we went back to our hotel.
Okay.
So we took the Skyliner back to the hotel after breakfast, and then Travis went, kind of did his thing with the car, and then I stayed there with Jaxson to get him ready, and our second outfit for Epcot day, because we had an outfit for breakfast and we had an outfit for Epcot, of course. And so we just kind of, I let him just relax a little bit, watch TV, just got the stroller packed so that way when Travis got back, we could just, leave and go straight to Epcot on the Skyliner. But we did take the Skyliner back to Epcot, which is where our disaster story of the evening takes place.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but it was the Skyliner was very good to us, but it was also very bad as well. So we had some great adventures on the Skyliner, and then we had some not so great adventures on the Skyliner.
Yeah, unfortunately, that kind of happens.
Oh yeah.
So what's the first thing y'all did when y'all got to Epcot?
The first thing that we did, I think we just grabbed snacks. I think we were a little, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but it was a lot to take in. I had not planned Epcot really at all. I didn't know where that one was. We were kind of, I wish I had planned Epcot a little bit more, because I don't think our disaster would have happened had I planned Epcot more. We just our plan was not to make any reservations at Epcot for lunch or dinner. And so we really just were kind of strolling around, finding where we wanted to eat, where we wanted to get drinks from. And so when we first got there, we didn't really do anything. We just kind of went to a few of the countries to see what they had, to figure out where we want to go back to later, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And then we took pictures, of course, with the photographers. So Jaxson had fallen asleep kind of early when we got to Epcot. And so Travis and I, took advantage of getting some couple pictures, having a few beers, getting some snacks, things like that. Tried to do everything when he woke up.
Yes.
I did this. So they had the Food and Wine Festival, which essentially there were these kind of smaller portions. So most everything was only $5 for a serving. So it might be like some kind of cheese dish or just kind of small portions, almost like a small plate. And so they had those at every country. And so it didn't feel like you were eating, so you were really able to go around and just kind of snack throughout all of the countries. Then get a beer to go along with it, or non-alcoholic drink if that is what you want. So I decided they had this passport thing where if you ate 5 different cheese dishes from different countries, you kind of got a stamp in this passport book. And if you got 5 stamps, then you got a souvenir. Well, we had gotten all the way, we had essentially walked all around Epcot. So we'd walked to all the countries. And I still had one cheese dish that I needed to get in order to get my last stamp. So Travis and Jaxson are in Germany, and we're kind of towards the end of the day. And I'm like, really, I've already done 4 dishes. I I need to complete this mission. Like, I'm already committed. I need to do it. So the last dish I needed to eat was like 4 countries away from where we were. So Travis is like, just go do it and then come back and then we'll head home. So I said, okay. Well, I go to this country. So I've already walked through 4 countries, and I'm asking the girl where I get my souvenir at. And she's like, oh, it is on the other side of Epcot. And I'm like, no, are you serious? She's like, yeah. And so I asked her, I said, is it worth it? Is the souvenir worth it? And she said, well, I'm not really supposed to tell you what the souvenir is. And I said, please tell me what the souvenir is. And she says, well, it's a really cute cup that has this really cute design on it. And I said, oh, I love collectible cups. Well, she doesn't tell me that this cup is like the size of, the tiniest cup in the universe, and that this cup is plastic. She leaves out these important pieces of information.
Yeah.
So I hike to the other side of Epcot, and we're missing a ride photo, so I needed to go by the ride photo place as well. And so I'm like, well, I'm already over here. I get the cup. I'm super disappointed. I'm like, oh my God, I walked all the way over here for this tiny plastic cup. Travis is going to kill me. So I go to the ride photo place because we were missing Jackson's first ride photo that we ever got. And so I said, we have to have this ride photo. So I go over there. I'm, sifting through all the ride photos to try to find it. Finally get the ride photo. I'm like, yes. All right. I'm going to get back over to Africa. And all of a sudden the sky falls out. So it is complete monsoon. Only the second time it's rained our entire trip. The first time was when we were at SeaWorld. Complete monsoon. And I also don't do well with maps. So Disney's map is probably the easiest map to read, and I can't read it. I was having to ask Travis, like, which way do we go? So I'm trying to figure out how I get from Spaceship Earth area back to Africa in a monsoon. And so I started running through the park without a poncho, without anything. I'm completely in my clothes. I have my phone in my zipper pouch so it doesn't get wet. And I'm just running up to people saying, how do I get to Africa? How do I get to Africa? And I swear people tell me different ways each time. And so I'm pretty sure I went in 2 circles before I actually found my way back to where all the countries are. So I finally get back to Africa, and I'm just completely drenched. And of course, Travis and Jaxson are under a canopy. They never got wet. Zero. And I'm literally almost having an asthma attack. So I'm taking my inhaler, and I'm like, I need water. I need to sit down. And so we waited a little bit, and finally, obviously I passed France in my journey, and I see that the Skyliner's closed.
Oh no.
I was like, no. And so I get back, and we're asking people, does the Skyliner close, just in the, or does it have to be lightning or all this kind of stuff? And they say, oh, just in lightning. So if it's just kind of drizzling, it'll totally be fine. Well, it stops raining. So we make our way to the Skyliner and get on the Skyliner. Skyliner's operating, and the Skyliner it stops at a hotel, and you have to transfer to a second Skyliner to get back to Art of Animation. We were literally almost to the hotel that it transfers, and we see this huge bolt of lightning. And I was like, oh no, we're going to have to get off the Skyliner. And so we get off the Skyliner, and of course they're like, due to lightning in the area, we're going to transfer you guys to a bus. And so we had to walk to this bus area. And what turned into a 10-minute trip back to the hotel in the Skyliner ended up a 2-hour trip back to the hotel.
Oh my gosh.
And it was awful. And we laughed about it afterwards. And Travis was making jokes about my golden chalice because all of this had to do with the fact that I needed to get my souvenir for my cheese excursion.
Oh my gosh. It's like the cheese award, the cheesy golden chalice.
Yeah. So it was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
But before all of the cheese adventures, Jaxson got to ride Frozen, which he loves.
Mm-hmm.
We loved it. We rode it twice. Not because Jaxson loved it, but because we loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so adorable.
Yeah.
And then after the ride, Elsa and Anna were outside. So he was able to talk to Elsa, which was really cool. He loves all of the princesses, which I'm totally fine with. He picked out a princess balloon. He picked out a princess bubble wand. So we allow him to embrace his love for princesses, which is totally fine.
Yes. That's very cute.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Did he ride any other rides in Epcot?
I don't think so. No, we did. He a Finding Nemo ride.
Oh yeah.
Which was another amazing ride. So we actually rode that one twice as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Finding Nemo was really cool because after the ride, there's this kind of aquarium area that you go into, and so it was almost kind of an adventure in an adventure. And so you got to do the ride, but then you had this entirely other experience that we had a hard time getting him out of.
Yeah, I can see that because that's like perfect for his age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He wouldn't. I tried to put him in the shark mouth for a picture, and he didn't want to have anything to do with that. But other than that, he really loved the area.
That's so fun.
And then I rode Spaceship Earth while Travis and them were just kind of in like a gift shop and stuff. And really cool thing is, I was debating on whether to ride Spaceship Earth because I was like, Travis didn't want to ride it. Jaxson had not done well in some of the darker, scary rides,
Mm-hmm.
and so we didn't want to put him there and him try to get out of the ride while we're on it.
Right.
And so I went ahead with it because I just love space, and for me, it just something I didn't get to experience some of the other times that I've been in Disney, and so I just really wanted to do that ride.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was doing it, Travis and Jaxson actually saw Mickey at Epcot.
Aww.
And so they have the selfie with Mickey in his traditional outfit behind him. Hardly anybody, like there were almost 0 people that saw him. And had I not tried to ride the ride and had it, just everything worked out to where if all things had not fallen in place, they wouldn't have seen Mickey right there. So that was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
There was oh my goodness, and I don't remember the name of it. There was this place where you could go into it looks like a pyramid sort of, and you go inside, and it's, I want to say it was in Mexico.
Yeah, it's Mexico.
And I don't know why I can't think of the name of the ride.
The ride's the Three
boat.
Caballeros.
Yes, we did that. Another boat ride.
Yep.
Yay, boat rides. Jaxson really loved that one too. That was really cool. There was this volcano at the beginning of the ride that just completely mesmerized him. And so that was another ride that we were able to do at Epcot. It was really interesting. I've heard that there's not a lot for kids to do at Epcot, but we actually found that the rides that he could do were rides that you could do over and over again. And then he loved the stuff at the countries. And so, you know, similar to the instruments in Africa, there were just things at each country that were kind of immersive,
Mm-hmm.
where he could become part of it. Even though it wasn't a ride, there were things that would get his attention, things that he was excited to see. And so for me, Epcot was great for kids, as well as adults. I think it's the best park that caters to both, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I totally agree. My kids love Epcot. I think it's fun. I think you just have to make the best of it. Yeah, there's not a ton of rides, but there's so much stuff to do. Just go walk into one of the countries.
Yeah, exactly. So we loved Epcot, minus our catastrophe story that happened. That was the only bad thing that happened at Epcot. It was funny because I thought Epcot was going to be our relaxing day, and I walked 26,000 steps the day of Epcot.
Oh my gosh.
Because of all of my extra loops around.
That's a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your 5th park day. Is it your 5th park day?
4th park day. We did Hollywood Studios. I loved Hollywood Studios. I think I want to say this was probably Travis's favorite park, was Hollywood Studios. There was a ton for Jaxson. There was also a ton for us as far as just, I think Pixar in general, a lot of the Pixar stuff I feel like is catered towards adults as well. And so for me, it was just a really great park. So when we first got there, the first ride that we did was Mickey's Runaway Railway. So there wasn't a line for the photographer. So I went and got a return time, and then we did the photos in front of Mickey's Runaway Railway. And then we kind of did bathroom breaks and all that kind of stuff before we got on that ride. Loved it. That ride is so fun. Super creative with how it spins and everything that you're a part of. You just feel like you're inside, just immersed in everything. And so it was kind of just a great combination ride. So we did that one. And then we were able to see the motorcade. So they have 2 different motorcades. One is like a Buzz Lightyear, Woody, Toy Story type motorcade. And then the other one was the Mickey Mouse, I think it's like a Roadster motorcade. So we saw the Toy Story one. We actually saw it a couple of times, which was really cool. And I don't know if it's just us. Like, we always listen for the music in order to make sure that, like, if we heard music, we knew that something was going to be happening somewhere. So we kind of made it a point to just kind of hunt out where that was going to be so that we didn't miss anything. So I think that allowed us to see lots of motorcades, lots of the cavalcades, things like that, because we were just kind of always listening out for the music.
Oh, yeah.
But we did that, and then we did the Lightning McQueen racing. I think it's called Lightning McQueen Racing Academy, or Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. So fun. I would have done that without Jaxson. It was just, it was really neat. Totally not what I expected, but that's okay. It was just absolutely one of the coolest things. It actually, whenever you're there, this, I don't even know, it's almost like a curtain, but not a curtain, opens up, and then they have an entire life-size Lightning McQueen, and the way that they have created the ride, it looks like he comes to life.
Oh, wow.
Right in front of your eyes. And so somehow they're like creating a projection onto the car with like the mouth moving and things like that. Whatever they've done is genius.
That's so cool.
And so we were able to do that, and then we got a picture of Jaxson and have this huge 95 sign when you first go into the audience. So we're going to get a picture of him in front of that, which was really cool. And then afterwards, they have all of these cars roped off so that you can see. It just feels like you're actually at the Speedway, is kind of how they've designed it, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
And then after that one is when we saw the Mickey Mouse motorcade. And so we have these just really cool pictures of Mickey waving to Jaxson. I don't know how, I know that this happens with almost every kid there, but it just feels like it's special to you. It feels like it's not happening to anybody else, and it just feels like it's happening just to you and your kid.
I think it's something about the people who are the characters. They make you feel like it's only happening to you. It's special. And same thing. Every time we go, I feel like we're the only people there. They're looking right at us. Like, it just feels like that.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
And it was so funny because we were watching one of the motorcades, and Travis is not very confrontational. I'm the one out of the two of us that's going to speak up or say something if something's not right. And this, I would say this guy, probably in his 20s, he had one of those GoPro cameras. He ended up, we were watching this motorcade come by, and we had gotten a spot right on the edge, and Jaxson was in a stroller, and he comes and stands right in front of the stroller with this, not even, paying attention. And it was so funny because Travis never says anything, and he was about to, this guy was about to not have his camera anymore. But I actually had to tap him and be like, I need you to move out of the way. So that was kind of the only awkward thing, because I'm sitting here you're an adult. You should know not to stand in front of a 3-year-old while Buzz Lightyear is coming by. But I don't know if the characters saw that happen, but I don't know if they kind of witnessed any of that happening. But right after, when his kind of line of sight opened up, one of the soldiers that was drumming literally comes over to Jaxson. I mean, almost to where you could touch him, and was just doing the drums right in front of him.
Aww.
And then another character came over. So I don't know if they kind of saw that happen. But either way, they just made it really special for him.
So what other rides did y'all ride while y'all were over there?
We did a ton at Hollywood Studios. So there was the Toy Story area, Toy Story Land. So we did Toy Story Mania. So much fun. I didn't realize, when we did it, I thought it was going to be another ride that you go through, kind of like Mickey's Runaway Railway or one of the boat rides or something like that. And I didn't realize how interactive it was going to be. So that was super fun. I probably could have done that ride 5 or 6 times if we had the time to do it. So we did that, and then we actually got lunch after that at Woody's Lunchbox. And so food was really great. That was we only did 2 quick service meals while we were at Disney. We did one there and then one at Magic Kingdom on our second Magic Kingdom day. But the process was really seamless. And so being able to go on your phone, in your order, having them notify you when your time slot was there, and then just picking it up. It gave us time to find a table, so we didn't have to worry about, not being able to sit down. So that whole process was great. Food was really amazing. And then we also did, so we had kind of a disaster at the ride that's similar to, it's the one that kind of spins around. It's the Alien, I think it's called Alien Orbiter, Alien Swirling Saucers. So that was another ride that Travis was not going to be able to get on due to the kind of the spinning. And so I got on there with Jaxson, and he wanted to sit on my lap, and he wasn't allowed to. So I was trying to kind of push him and set him next to me and try to explain that so sorry, buddy, you have to sit next to mommy. But it was to the point where I actually had to take him off the ride. No. Then as soon as we got off, he said, I want to ride the aliens. And I was like, oh, buddy, if we get back on the aliens, you have to sit, next to me. Mm-hmm. You can't sit on my lap. So we get back in line. They let us, it was beyond the Fast Pass line. It was straight to they just let us skip everything.
Yeah.
Because the ride attendant knew what had happened. He just felt really bad for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get back on, I get back in that area, and then all of a sudden I feel a hand on my back. And I was like, and I look over and it's Travis. And so Travis had somehow talked to somebody to let him in through, I guess it was like the exit part of it, and had scooted in. And so he knew that if he didn't ride the ride, Jaxson may not. It may be the same thing kind of that happens a second time. So poor Travis gets on this ride, and he had to close his eyes the whole time.
Oh,
but
no.
It was super special that this best dad moment where he wants his son to have this great experience, and he knew he just kind of had to suck it up and on the ride for it to happen. So that was really sweet.
That is so sweet. Was he okay afterwards?
He did great. And Jaxson did great. He sat in between us, and the ride attendant who had, been there for everything was like giving us thumbs up, and he was so excited to see Jaxson on the ride.
That's so cool.
So the next thing that we did, so kind of after that, we had a 1:00 Oga's Cantina reservation. I said that right.
Yeah, Oga's.
So Travis is a big Star Wars person. I know zero about Star Wars. I didn't even know who, like, the big furry character, I didn't know the name of it. I took pictures because I knew it was, like, a thing, but I didn't know who it was.
That's so funny.
And so Jaxson had fallen asleep. We had gotten off that one of the rides, like, right before that 1:00 reservation. And so we kind of, like, Travis went ahead in front of us, and I told him, I was like, I'll just, I'll be right behind you. I'll meet you there. And so I think he got there about 5 or 10 minutes after the reservation, which was totally fine. And we decided, because Jaxson was sleeping, that just Travis would go into the Oga's Cantina, and then I would just sit and just wait for them out there, which was totally the best decision because we had a happy toddler after that. I met some really great people that I was able to chat with that were from Texas. And so funny enough, I got all of these insider tips on Facebook groups to find Disney apparel and Disney items and things like that. So that was really fun. And then Travis had a great time in Oga's Cantina. So they have a time limit, so you can't just go in there and hang out all day. I want to say, I think he was capped at like 45 minutes, if I'm correct. But just super cool atmosphere. For a Star Wars fan, I think it's a must do. I think Travis would have stayed in there all day if he could have. I think I would have lost my husband if he didn't get put on a time limit. And so I didn't get to experience it, but from everything he told me, it was just a really cool experience.
That's awesome.
To go in there. And then there was a ride, not Rise of Resistance, but it was the ride where you're like in this ship and you have 6 seats. So there's like, you have 2 gunners, you have 2 engineers, and then you have 2 pilots. And Travis had done the ride, and he told me, he was like, you should do the ride. It's, it's really fun. Well, I get in there, and I am with this group of people that I had been on another ride with, and they couldn't listen to directions. And I don't know how I got on this ride with these same people, but it were these adults, and you would think that adults, listening ears, but they were not listening to the ride, the ride instructor people. So we get on this ride, and literally the 2 girls that are in the gunner's seats don't push the buttons at all. 0. They just sit there. And hey, you need to, like, you've got to push the button to, like, make it work. It was awful. So I was like the only person on the ride that was actually pushing the buttons that were part of the ride. And
that's so crazy, because that's the whole point of that ride.
Yeah. the entire point of it. And
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if they didn't know that that was what you did. But we get off, and the guy that was like the ride attendant person, he was like, "Whew, that was a rough one." He said, "Don't forget that we don't have seatbelts back here." And so he even made some kind of comment about how awful we did. And so
that's crazy.
Travis had a really good experience on the ride. My experience, not so much. I think for that ride, if you're in a group of people, it's great. But if you're with people that you don't know, I would say you could probably skip that one. I forget what it's called.
Millennium Falcon. Smuggler's Run. Smuggler's Run.
Okay. So after that, we had tried to get on Rise of Resistance, but the ride broke down, which I hear is a thing that happens a lot. And so we actually just kind of browsed, like just kind of walked around the Star Wars area with Jaxson. There were just a lot of the ships that they have that are these huge replicas. It was just fascinating for him. And so not even being on some of the rides was just a really cool experience. And then we, of course, found more photographers, and I had changed Jaxson into like his Star Wars outfit at that point. And so we got all of these cute pictures in front of one of the Millennium Falcon ships, I guess is what it's called.
Yeah.
So we were doing that. And then we decided, like, as we were about to leave the park, we said, okay, if Rise of Resistance is fixed, then we'll ride it. If not, we'll just go back, and just not worry about it. And so right as we were walking out of the Star Wars area, we start seeing all these people start running to Rise of Resistance. And so we're like, oh, it must be working now. And of course it was. And so we had already set up the rider swap for it, because it broke down literally as we were trying to set up the first rider swap for it. And so we already had my dad's pass as well as the rider swap. And so I was able just to immediately get on the ride first.
Nice.
So funny enough, so many amazing things about this ride. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, oh my gosh, it's the most incredible ride. I have the most unpopular opinion of this ride, and it is that it is not worth the hype, which is, I know, shocking for probably everybody. It was a really weird ride. So there were a lot of strange transitions that happened. And I think before you get on that actual ride, you're kind of waiting in another queue, it seemed like. And so for some people who didn't know that there was an actual ride happening, they were talking about, oh my God, is this all it was? This is ridiculous. And then you had other people talking about their day or complaining about their day, which blows my mind that you would have people complaining about Disney. So it just kind of made it awkward. And once we got on the ride, it felt like it was almost like a Star Wars themed Mickey Runaway Railway. The ride was the exact same as far as like how it spins and goes through different things. There were definitely different, types of interactive pieces that were added in that Mickey's Runaway Railway didn't have. But I still felt like it was almost like they replicated that, just kind of threw some Star Wars stuff into it. So had I would not have waited 2 hours for Rise of the Resistance. And if I had waited 2 hours, I would have been devastated, like absolutely devastated. But Travis also kind of had the same reaction that I did. He thought it was cool, but he would not have waited in line. So if we didn't have the option for rider swap, it would have been awful. So he would have regretted standing in a line for it. And then when we were leaving, so each day there were things where, we said, okay, we definitely want to do this by the end of the day. So there's some things where we were okay skipping, some things that we just knew were must do's.
Right.
And so one of the things I really wanted to do was the Disney Junior dance and play.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to the area, and I think it was probably maybe like a 20-minute wait before the next showtime. It was one of the most fun times Jaxson had the entire trip. It was absolutely adorable. I didn't realize that Mickey was going to come out. I didn't realize all of the characters that were at this Disney Junior show. And it was just really cool because they have this huge dance floor, and then they have a stage. And so all of the characters come out. They have kind of a DJ that's up there, and then he introduces each of the characters. And then towards the end, all the characters come out together. And so you had characters like Vampirina, you had, Mickey, you had Dr. What's that character?
Doc McStuffins.
Doc McStuffins was there. So just all these really cute Disney Junior characters. And
That's cute.
The kids are able to, they do all this interactive stuff with the kids. And then the kids are dancing to the different songs of the characters. They had bubbles going off everywhere. And it was probably about a 20-minute show.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it felt like 20 minutes. And it just was the cutest thing. And he had so much fun, and he burned off so much energy at that show. And so it was just it was one of the last things that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a really great way to just kind of wrap up our whole day.
That's so fun. I love that they have stuff like that for the little ones.
Yeah, and I mean, we enjoyed it just as much.
Mm-hmm.
And it just was absolutely, absolutely adorable. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that, yeah, it's the Disney Junior Play and Dance is what it's called. And then we did see one more motorcade as we were leaving, I believe. But it was just kind of like the tail end of a motorcade that we saw. We didn't get to do Slinky Dog, and we didn't do the Tower of Terror. But we did the Rock and Roller Coaster.
Oh, yeah?
And, oh, wow. I was not expecting that. That roller coaster goes from 0 to 60 and actually probably 0 to 100 in about 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I almost lost it on that ride. And of course I had to ride it first, and I don't think I would have ridden it after Travis had he described it. I just was not prepared at all for that.
Yeah.
And I usually have done pretty good with roller coasters in my life, but that one was awful. In a good way. It was a great roller coaster, but you really don't go after you eat lunch. Don't go if you've had a beer. Don't go if you haven't gone to the restroom. Make sure to go to the restroom before the ride.
Oh yeah. And it's so deceiving because it's in a building, so you're like, well, this can't be that bad.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't know. I don't even know that I knew it was a roller coaster. Or I knew it was a roller coaster, but I thought I was on the wrong ride. When you go in and you're in this they're showing you this recording studio, and I was like, did I get on the right ride? Where are we at? And then we go in and I'm like, oh, okay. And then after the ride, I'm like, oh, it was, definitely was not prepared for that.
Yeah.
And then.
So did y'all ride the Skyliner over to Hollywood Studios this day?
Yeah, we did the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios, and we did not have it. We were able to ride it back to our hotel So we didn't have the disaster that happened at Epcot
Nice.
because the weather, the weather cooperated for us. So we didn't have to worry about anything weather related. And then we tried to do that night, we tried to go back to the splash pad because we did leave Hollywood Studios, not like super early, but fairly early. We originally had a reservation at 5:30 for dinner, and we just ended up I don't even think I canceled it. I think we just didn't go to the 5:30 reservation at the 50s Primetime Cafe. So I think, hindsight, I probably made more reservations than probably should have because I ended up canceling. Chef Mickey's after we did Topolina's. And so we tried to go back. I forget what we did for dinner that night. I think we ordered from the hotel. So we ordered something just from the hotel restaurant, which wasn't the best, but I mean, at that point, food's food.
Right.
And so we tried to push our luck a little bit and also go to the hotel arcade. And that was a bad decision because we had a tired little one. And he made it through like one game. And then we were trying to do this. It was kind of like a Marvel photo booth thing where you got to select different things. And so I have this hilarious printout where Jaxson is just like literally screaming and the photo booth turns you into a cartoon. And so it's like him screaming as a cartoon.
That's great.
So it's great. It's actually one of my favorite souvenirs, but I'm like, yeah, we pressed our luck too much and should not have done the arcade, which is why we should have done a resort day, like we had talked about earlier, because with a resort day, we would have had that time where he wasn't grumpy or tired to like spend some time in the arcade, spend some time in the hotel gift shop, stuff like that. So that was how we ended our Hollywood studio day.
Well, sounds like it was a great day. I mean,
it was amazing. We literally, there wasn't anything at any of the parks, including Hollywood Studio, that we wanted to do that we didn't do.
That's awesome.
Everything we wanted to do, we got to do. It doesn't mean that we did everything, but all of the things that were kind of highlights, we actually got to do. So
yeah,
I'm super grateful for that.
That's great. Okay, so we are at your last park day.
Yes.
And y'all went back to Magic Kingdom.
We did, and it was amazing. We did all completely different things than we did our first Magic Kingdom day.
That's awesome.
We still rode, obviously, the teacups again. We rode the cars again, and we rode Dumbo again. He wanted to ride the roller coaster, but we got in line and then it did not happen. And so those are the three rides though that Jaxson, we asked him like, what do you want to do again? And those are all the things that he wanted to do again. Also the carousel, we got to ride that again in the evening. We started the day off, we didn't have, so the first day we had the photo shoot, but the second time we didn't. And so it was really cool because we could just kind of start our day off without outfit changes, without, photo shoots, without all of that stuff. So we could really focus on what ride that we wanted to do and the cavalcades and kind of seeing the characters. I think that was the day where all the princesses were at the top of the bridge that day, which was really cool. It felt like every day, I don't know if they rotate, but it seemed like at different days and times, there were different characters that would come out onto the, to kind of like that bridge area. Yeah. And so we did, I had made Jungle Cruise t-shirts. And so, we did Jungle Cruise as our first ride that day. It was so hilarious and so fun.
That's a great ride.
It is. I don't know if they're all scripted the same, or if they all kind of have their own jokes, or I don't know. I would have to ride it again to determine if that's the case, but
so I don't think it's scripted the same. I think they have like a basic script, but then they add in their own jokes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard, because I've ridden it a couple of times and it's been like it's the same but different, you know?
Yeah. So that was really cool. We got these skipper cards when we first entered because of our t-shirts. So we said, "Oh, I love the outfits. You guys get to be skippers for the day."
Oh, fun.
So we each got these little skipper cards that are just, really great scrapbook type things.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. And then the ride itself, I mean, it's almost like, the Animal King safari on a boat ride at Disney with a super funny boat driver. And I didn't realize until the end that he was actually driving the boat. Like, I don't think it's on a track. It might be, but I don't think it is. And we were trying to debate that at the end of the ride because it looked like he was actually steering the boat the whole time.
That's interesting.
So the jungle cruise was amazing. And then after the jungle cruise, we did the Bears show, the Country Bear Jamboree. Show. If you have never done the Country Bears Jamboree, you have to do it. I thought it was going to be this cheesy bear show for super small kids, and it is actually an adult show.
Yeah.
It is totally geared towards adults. There was one of the songs that said, so one of the female bears made a comment. Every time I find a man that turns me on, he turns me down.
Oh, that's amazing.
One of the lines in the song. And it just absolutely cracked us up.
That's so funny.
Yeah, there were many more lines like that. But I was so grateful that we ended up going to that show because it just made us giggle.
That's so funny.
And there were these kind of like heads on the wall that started to come to life and talk. And so Jaxson was really intrigued by kind of like the talking moose on the wall or talking, I think it was a moose or something like that. So that was super cute and fun. We ended up, I want to say after that, we tried to do the magic carpet, but for some reason Jaxson didn't. We tried to do the magic carpet a couple of times and he didn't want to ride it. And so we didn't want to force him to ride, obviously ride anything he didn't want to ride. But I was surprised because it's very similar to the Dumbo ride, which he loved. The Dumbo one, he loved the one at the Dino Land, but he just, for some reason, did not want to do the magic carpet ride.
He just wasn't
which was
feeling
totally fine. Yeah. So we did the Jungle Cruise. We did Dumbo again. Teacups again. The Country Bears. And then we ate quick service at Pecos Bill's. And that was really good. It was, again, similar to the Woodies where it was super convenient to be able to do the order. So while I was getting Jaxson, changed in the restroom, Travis was, made the order and got the food and got us a table. And so everything about that whole process is just really convenient. I don't know if I don't remember that being something that they offered in my previous trips to Disney. I don't know if it's just COVID related, but I do hope that even after COVID, I think it should just, being able to mobile order just should always be a thing.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it was something before, but only like the diehard Disney people knew about it. But I hope it stays because, it's so convenient.
Yeah. And so we also, I kind of used this day, one, to do things that we had not done on our first day. So things like the Jungle Cruise. We did the Winnie the Pooh ride, which was absolutely adorable. And so really used that day to ask Jaxson like what he wanted to do again, because he remembers everything about all the rides.
Mm-hmm.
He can tell you why he doesn't like the Peter Pan ride because of the alligator. He can tell you why he doesn't like Pirates of the Caribbean, and he can tell you what he loves about all of the other rides.
That's so sweet.
And so, again, he stayed in the teacups. We could have just left him on the teacups and gone and done something else, and he still would have been on the teacups. He thought it was hilarious. The top of the teacup opens up, and that little mouse comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were standing in line waiting to get on the teacups, he had the biggest giggle whenever that mouse would pop out.
That's so cute.
And so I have a little video of that, which is absolutely adorable. And then we also, so one of the souvenirs that I wanted to get was one of the silhouettes. And so for anybody that doesn't know about the silhouettes, they have it's a little cart. It's about halfway down Main Street. There were maybe three people ahead of us in line for the silhouette. So it's not something, I don't think everybody knows about it. Literally, they can hand cut a black piece of paper in the form of a silhouette of your child or you or whoever you want. And if your child's old enough, they can sit on this little chair, and they literally cut it within about a minute just by looking at them. And we had to do it a little different. So Jaxson was asleep when we got the silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did is we kind of held his head up and took a picture of my phone of his head. And then the artist used the picture and cut from picture that we had just taken on the phone. So we did ours a little bit different. But the silhouette itself is only $10. And you actually get two silhouettes. So you essentially are paying $5 for each one. And then the frame, you get one frame with it, and you can buy another frame.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up, it was $20 with tax. I want to say it was like $25 or so. I don't know. It was like right at $30 for us to get two silhouettes and two frames, essentially.
That's a great souvenir.
So best thing ever. I'm actually going to I'm going to get a different frame, I think, for ours. I think I'm going to get a custom frame in an oval frame, but the other one I'm going to gift to my parents for
so
Christmas.
Fun. That's so sweet.
So best, most affordable souvenir that you can get at Disney are the silhouettes.
Yes, that's so sweet.
So highly recommend that. And then we actually did Cinderella's Royal Table reservation. So we had a reservation at 5:30. It was really cool because Jaxson wanted to do the carousel. And so we got to do the carousel one last time after our Cinderella dinner. And so at that point, kind of where the castle is, because of the fireworks, they roped the castle off.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were doing the carousel, the castle was like completely empty behind us. And so we were able to get a family picture from the back of the castle where there's just nobody back there, which was really cool. Cinderella's Royal Table was amazing. It was just so special. So whenever you come in, they call you by like your royal family name, and they call you lady, and it's just everybody that works there completely plays the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So from the minute that you walk in, you are part of the royal table. So it was really cool. We had the food was, I thought the food was great. It kind of reminded me more of food that you would have at a really upscale restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
where you're not getting, things like Ohana where you're getting large portions. The food's really good, but it's not kind of that delicate type food. Cinderella's Royal Table reminded me more of like really delicate upscale dining. So the portions are smaller, but you're getting very artistic and like whimsical representations of your food. It's things that you would see on, television when they're creating kind of like artwork on plates.
Right.
So I think I kind of hear different feedback on like, oh, it's not the food. But for me, it was, the food was amazing. You're not going there to eat like a buffet, but it's also the experience and just being immersed in that. We saw Cinderella 3 times, and he actually, so where we were seated, there was nobody blocking our view, so we were right there where Cinderella came out.
That's so cool.
And of course, Jaxson flirted with every single princess at Disney, and so he blew her a kiss, and then she kind of with her hand did the bippity boppity boop to Jaxson, and it was just super cute.
That is so cute.
And then they brought out, so we did have to ask, so since he was under 3, they gave a complimentary, it was either a mac and cheese with like some kind of side, or you could do chicken nuggets and mashed potatoes. And the mac and cheese that they brought out, Jaxson has a much bigger appetite than the little tiny mac and cheese that they brought. But we did ask for more mac and cheese, and they were super willing to bring out, they brought out like a big bowl of it for him. So we didn't have any issue with, being like, oh no, he can't have any more or anything like that. So
that's nice.
Really great service. And they didn't charge us. They still didn't charge us for it, which was great. And then they brought out this kind of build your own cupcake, which was super cute. And so they have these 2 different cupcakes, and then they have icing on the side and sprinkles. And so the kid can just kind of ice their own cupcake and put sprinkles on it. So that was super cute.
That's so fun.
Yeah. And then the adult desserts also were amazing. So that was like one of the second times that I had to cheat. And they had like a chocolate dessert, and then they had a cheesecake dessert. And again, it was just like a piece of artwork coming out to the table. And then you have, just being in there, they have these stained glass windows to where you really are, you're in the castle.
Yeah.
And just to know that like this castle that you've seen from the outside, that's been this whimsical and magical thing. And just knowing that you're inside of it was incredible. Jaxson even, he knew he was like in the castle. Because just all of the decoration and Cinderella coming out, like he just knew that he was part of it, which was really great.
So fun.
And then they bring out, for souvenirs, they brought out this little cart that has Cinderella's autograph on it, which since they're not doing character autographs, I did find that pretty much everywhere you went, a lot of the restaurants would give you these cards that had the autographs on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a nice way to have a keepsake if you're somebody who scrapbooks and things like that. It was nice to be able to have those as mementos, since they're not doing the actual character signatures right now.
Yeah, that is really nice.
And then, so we did the carousel after our dinner. And then we had to decide, Travis really wanted to go on It's a Small World after A Small World one last time. But I didn't think we would have enough time to like get a spot for the fireworks, do that. And like, we were just kind of on a time crunch at that point. And so we ended up just finding a spot for the fireworks. And then this is where like, I didn't build in enough time to like search for souvenirs for people. So we had maybe 45 minutes before the fireworks started.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to go down Main Street to try to get in somewhere to do some souvenir shopping, and it just was difficult. It was insanely crowded. It was hard to even walk down Main Street because everybody was like finding spots for the fireworks. And so I found a couple of things, but not, I ended up having to do last minute souvenir shopping at our hotel before we checked out.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was, I think there's a couple things I wanted to get that I forgot, but I didn't really build in enough time to get souvenirs, which sounds odd. We saw the fireworks at Magic Kingdom. Amazing. Absolutely. It's, I was super grateful because I know that fireworks show got replaced recently. And so being able to see it for one last time before it went away was really wonderful. Jaxson loved it. He didn't have to have his headphones on the whole time. And then we got to we got to see the projections on the castle, and when Tinkerbell is like flying in the sky. I don't even know how they made that happen.
I know, but it's amazing.
it just, I don't know how that physically happens. I don't know the technology behind it, but it really was amazing. And so really grateful that we got to see the fireworks at Magic Kingdom, as well as Ohana. But the Magic Kingdom one, obviously seeing all the projections, they're just different experiences.
For sure.
Completely. You can't really compare the two fireworks experiences. They were just completely different.
Right.
The crowd was a little, I didn't expect, I think I expected there to be that big of a crowd, but literally everybody who's in the park, or normally everybody's dispersed. At that point, everybody's all together. And so kind of walking out afterwards was, I would say, the most hectic part, where I actually felt like it was crowded. I really didn't feel like it was crowded at any point in the trip, except for when we were leaving after the fireworks for Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, that's like, if you can stay and try to do a couple rides, that's kind of the way to go. But because everyone leaves, and then it's just like chaos.
Yeah. But we got back on, we did the monorail, again. We had ridden our first Magic Kingdom day. We rode the ferry back to the transportation area just so that we could experience the ferry. But the last Magic Kingdom day, we rode the monorail because obviously Jaxson was like, monorail, like so excited about the monorail. And then it was really, it was so sweet. We, when we got on the monorail, there was this little girl that was like sitting next to us. Like, oh, Jaxson, you get to see one last princess before we leave. And so we were, talking to the family, and she said that her favorite princess was Ariel. And we had the Ariel bubble wand that Jaxson had picked out, which we knew was not, like, we already had a Mickey bubble wand at the house. So we did not need to bring more bubble wands to the house. And so we were able to give her our bubble wand.
That's so nice.
She was so excited about.
Aw, that's so
that
sweet.
was like a really great way to end our trip.
That's awesome.
We went back home. Yeah.
So then the next day, y'all just packed up and started driving home? Yeah.
Well, part of the stipulation of us staying for the Magic Kingdom fireworks was that I had to pack us up the night before, which I tried, but I was still packing stuff the next morning. But I got a ton of stuff packed and like at the door. And Travis the next morning, I mean, he just was making like trip, he loaded up as much on the cart, and we just tried our best to get everything out as best we could. And then we made a stop at the gift shop because I did not do a great job with souvenirs. And so got some last minute souvenirs, last minute breakfast. And then we headed out and we drove back. So on the way down there, we split the trip up, but we drove straight through on the way back. And so we made it back in about 10 hours, 10 or 10 and a half hours. And we only, I think we made like a couple of stops, but I had to remind Travis that we still had a toddler. Yeah. We have to stop.
That's tough. That's a long
way. We have
way
to get out. But we made it back, and then it was so funny because I had planned a birthday party for him the next day. So we had his official third birthday we drove back on a Saturday. His birthday was on Sunday. So that was his actual birthday. And then we had a Disney Cars themed birthday party for him.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Well, y'all's trip sounds so much fun. I heard about a lot of new restaurants that I haven't talked to anyone about. So that was really fun hearing about that. So I am pretty sure we all know your least magical moment.
Yes.
What was your most magical moment?
Oh, the most magical moment, if I had to pick one, would be our breakfast at Topolino's. It just was so special. And it really, when you think about what Disney is and you think about characters and you think about just a kid feeling magic, like that breakfast was hands down one of the most magical things. When I think about overall the most magical moments, it's actually these little tiny moments that were scattered throughout our whole trip. So it was seeing his face for the first time when he saw the castle. It was being on the Peter Pan ride and him just putting his hands on each of our legs because he was kind of scared a little bit. Him pushing me out of the teacups. So it wasn't like a big moment that really created that magic. It was these little tiny little pieces throughout the entire trip. That for me was the most magical part.
That's awesome. That's what I tell people, friends of mine who are going to go to Disney. I always tell them, don't stress about the big stuff because the little things, that's what you remember.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I remember his monorail song. I remember him talking about how much he loves the Skyliner. Just these little tiny things. And even now, when he talks about it, when he talks about living in Radiator Springs, I mean, you can't beat that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really those small moments.
That's awesome. How cute. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Carrie. I loved hearing about y'all's trip. So much fun.
You're the best. Thank you so much for having me. And we are already planning our next trip to Disney. I turned 40 in February, so I am going to ring in my 40th birthday at Disney, so I'm super excited.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. We'll have to have you back on the show to hear all about that.
Yay!
I hope you enjoyed the show today. Check out our Instagram page at Disney Travel Tales to see pictures from Carrie's trip. If you are interested in coming on the show, email me at disneytalespodcast@gmail.com. I am currently looking for people going on Disney cruises, Boo Bash, or one of the Christmas parties that will be at the parks. We will be back next week with a guest who was at the parks on the 50th anniversary. I am so excited to hear all about what it was really like. Until then, this is Jenny, and may all your Disney travel dreams become a reality.